All right, good morning, everyone. So thanks for joining. In these 2 weeks, we are going to have our classes online, as you already know. We are pretty well set up for this class to be online from here on, because the way I was planning was to have the practice on the online presentations. And we could have some like live online presentation, especially because the number is not that much. And perhaps in one of the future classes, I will ask everyone to do actually an online presentation of what you have already been doing. So not a new presentation, but something that you have already done the video. So let me see. I see Kevin, but not Michael. Good morning, Kevin and Kevin.
Morning. Morning, mister.
Good morning. So you will be ready to give us a demo of your final project presentation that we did the other day. Yes? No?
Yes, we're ready, but Michael, I think he's not here.
Okay, we will wait and see if he will show up later. If not, then maybe you two can just do his part together. Um, you did a very good job in that presentation that day, so I wanted your classmates to see what it is, because I watched the other students' presentations, the Taiwanese students' presentations, and I think your classmates can benefit, because one of the purposes of this class is to prepare you for that final project presentation. And no matter which school or which college you are or which department you are, there is usually some kind of final project presentation. I know a school of design actually has a more elaborated final project presentation, because they have to create a display and present their display item. So that's why we are aiming at introducing a product or an idea for our next presentation um, topic. Also, in our department, there are presentations for the final project. They are not long presentations, usually 5 to 7 minutes. Should be a good enough presentation, which is the time we are usually doing for this class. And because of the COVID, then the presentations for those of you graduating became online. Otherwise, we would have supposed to be in the classroom. So once again, you need to have practice on both way of presenting. And I hope this class has prepared you for both. One thing we have not talked about is the Q&A part, because we haven't had any Q&A part for any of your presentations. And that would be just an additional skill that I will talk about it today. And it takes some practice also to get that done. But if you have a good presentation and you show confidence in yourself and in your topic and how well you can present, then it should be the question time should be short, or you should be ready for the questions that would be asked. But how to handle it, some technical matters, I will talk about it today. So just what happens if you don't know the answer to the question, for example, or what happens if the people who are asking you the question, they didn't understand your presentation, things like that. It's also pointed out in the book. we have we should be done with all the homework from the book. So last week I assigned you the last part of the book, and so I will be checking those when if we will meet face to face. If we are not going to meet face to face in the classroom at least once between now and the end of the semester, then I think I will have to ask you to come to my office and just I will check the books individually. Let me ask how many people right now just go back are not in campus. Is everybody here around the campus still?
No, sir. I'm currently at my hotel and I haven't come back.
Okay, but you will come back. You right?
Yeah, of course.
All right. So anybody else beside Michael? That I mean, I'm asking those of you who maybe go back to like I don't know, Taoyuan or Tainan or just out of town. So maybe we can choose a date, maybe like today, and you bring your books to the office. Bring it here. Let me check it, and then we will finish the process for the checking of the book. So let me give you the instruction how to prepare your books, and then you prepare your books for the pages I have already stamped, and then bring the pages that I haven't checked yet. And so we will just go with that. So for the pages that I have already stamped, let me just now use my own book here. Supposedly that we have a stamp in one of the pages, and I hope I can demonstrate this in here. All right, suppose you have a page like this that has been already stamped, right? What I want you to do before coming here is to make this page somehow known. So when you come here, we already know which pages to check. So you can kind of fold this page inside out the way that the stamp stays out in this way. So, or some people just will just go ahead and do the whole half page, something like this. The whole purpose is to find out where the pages are. Maybe some people, I have seen some people in the past, they put a clip. That's okay, whatever you like to do. You can just fold the blah, blah. You can fold, ah, okay, something like this. Keep it close to my face. Something like this. You can fold the page like this that I have stamped. Is that clear, everybody?
Yes.
Thank you. So today, after the class, you're going to bring your books here. So be prepared to come here and let me check your book. You can come to campus, right? You can come to my office, right? Anyone? I know Michael is not here, but the rest of you should be able to come to the office. So just come up here because I have my students come here before, so no problem with that.
Teacher, I'm in my hometown.
Ah, good. Now I ask a question. Now you speak out. Okay. Let me see. So let me go through the attendance, and then let me ask you one by one so I can know who is here and who is not here. Let me see. Ian.
Yes.
So Ian, can you turn on your camera?
Yes.
Ah, good morning. Wow, you're in a nice classroom.
Uh,
So, are you in campus? Are you around the university?
Oh no, and I'm in Taoyuan.
Are you also in Taoyuan? Okay. All right. So let's figure out how many people are here. All right. Thank you, Ian. How about Alan? Is Alan here? No. How about? Huh? Good morning, Alan. Can you turn on your camera?
Oh, yes.
Good, Alan. Are you in Yazhou or you're
Oh,
not?
no. It's home.
You're also at home. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that. How about Ben? Good morning, Ben. You are where? You're in campus. You're in classroom.
I'm go back 嘉义
Oh, you're in Jai.
嘉
so,
义
so that's your home? I thought that's a classroom. Okay, no problem. How about, so Kevin, you're here, right? Kevin, Tanjaya, and Rico. Rico was here. I saw Rico. Here, Rico. Rico?
I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah, what happened to your camera?
Okay.
So where are you right now, Rico? Okay, we'll come back to Rico later. She doesn't answer our question. Weena? Hi, good morning. So you also went home? Okay, your sound is off. Okay, Weena, thank you. How about Stella? Stella?
Yeah.
Camera.
Okay.
I don't know what you said. Thank you. So Stella, you also went back home?
No, I'm in Asia.
You are in Asia. Okay. So if you want to come, I think you can come after class and let me check your textbook. At least one person textbook is done. Also for Kevin, you guys bring your textbook because you are in campus, right?
Yes, Prof.
Okay, sure. So come bring your books here. Thank you, Estella. And how about Kelly?
I'm here.
Yes. So Kelly, then you can bring your book here or you're at home?
I'm in my home.
Okay. All right. So those of you who can be here, then let's just check your books. Those of you who cannot be here, then hopefully in the future. I still need to know what happened to Rico. Rico left. Abidjan. Okay. All right. So Michael is here. Kevin is here. Kevin is here. So Michael, we were wondering that you're ready for the same presentation you did for the graduation project. You guys ready to do it one more time? Michael?
Yeah, I think we're ready. Kevin?
They
Yeah,
are
I think
ready.
we're ready.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm with them.
they said they are ready. They were just waiting for you to come, and now you are here. So I think let me give the
I'm ready.
control. So we're gonna start with your presentation. I think you can take control of the screen and just go for it.
Oh, sorry, Prof. I think you can give the control to Kevin Dante because he has the PowerPoint in it.
Anybody who wants to take control is free to take control. Yeah.
Okay, may I start the presentation?
Yeah, and let's also see you, and you can minimize that thing. That's my picture. Yes.
Okay, we'll start, Prof.
Yeah, and your camera also. It's okay if you're not very handsome like the other day. It's too early. Very good.
Okay, I will start, Mr.
Please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are business administration students. My name is Kevin Riyadi, and this is my friend Kevin Sanjaya and Michael Dowd. Today, we want to present about the antecedents and underlying mechanism of intention to retain premium subscription in premium business model. Next. So, in this presentation, I will divide this presentation by 4 sections. The first is the introduction, second one is the literature, and the third one is the method and result, and last one I will talk about the conclusion. Next. COVID-19 has brought new challenges to our lives. It changed our behavior and business landscape. One of the business enterprises that were affected by is premium enterprise. Our purpose in the study is to analyze how people's behavior could affect their intention to retain the premium subscription. But before we go further, let me explain you what is the freemium business model is. Freemium business model is a pricing strategy by which a basic product or service is provided free of charge, but with paying amount of money or by subscribing the premium version, we can expand the functionality of the free version. As Spotify, Zoom, YouTube, Google Drive, Discord, and etc. are some examples of freemium companies, but we applied Discord as our sample in the study because of very few studies use this application as a sample of their study. And to fill the needs of the literature and methodology, we use the theory of consumption values, or TCV, to theorize that the consumption values could affect user intention to retain their premium subscription. And then we also use the structural equation modeling, or SEM, as our methodology as well.
Okay, so now let's move on to the theory of consumption value. Next. So we will use this theory because this theory has focused on consumption values and explaining also why consumers choose to buy or not buy this product and why consumers choose one product type over another. It means in this case, we want to search the factors why the people want to retain their premium subscription. Okay, next. Okay, in this case, this theory has divided into 5-dimensional values, like you see in the screen. The first one is functional value, second one is social value, the third one is emotional value, the fourth one is epistemic value, and the last one is conditional value. So the functional value is the personal utility that acquired from an alternative's capacity for functional utilitarian or physical performance. In this case, we will use ubiquity and price value as the variable measurements. And the second one is social value that is defined as the perceived utility that acquired from an alternative's association with one or more social groups. In this case, we will take a social connectivity as the variable measurements. And the third one is emotional value that is the perceived utility that acquired from an alternative's capacity to arouse feelings or affective states. In this case, we will using enjoyment and satisfaction as the variable measurements. And the fourth one is epistemic value that is defined as the perceived utility that acquired from an alternative's capacity to arouse curiosity and provide novelty and or satisfy a desire for a new knowledge. And the last one is conditional value that is defined as the perceived utility that acquired by an alternative as the result of the specific situation or a set of circumstances that facing the choice maker. And in this case, we will not use the last two dimensional value because it doesn't comprehend enough with the Discord application. Okay, next. So this is our hypothesis for this research. The first and the second one is ubiquity and social connectivity have an influence to enjoyment, and enjoyment have a direct influence to people to retain their premium subscription. And ubiquity and social connectivity have also a direct influence in the people to retain their premium subscription. And the next one is satisfaction have influence the price value, and price value have a direct influence to people to retain their premium subscription. And the last one is satisfaction have also maybe have a direct influence to people to retain their premium subscription.
Okay, now I'm going to explain about our study method and result. First of all, let me introduce you our study target group. So this study target group is a premium users of a well-known digital app services called Discord. And we chose Indonesia as our geographical location. Discord is a premium digital app that is engaged in instant communication in the form of chat and video calls. Users who subscribe to the premium subscription of it can enjoy more benefits than those who don't. The data was collected via online survey with a questionnaire. All items were collected using 5-point Likert scale, ranging from strongly disagree to strongly agree. We analyzed the data by utilizing EFA and CFA to check the construct validity of it and the convergent validity of the measurement construct. This method we are using is called structural equation modeling, or SEM. So from there, a total of 609 data was collected via Google Forms. After cleaning the data by checking the normality and outliers, 480 respondents are used for further analysis. Then when we check the validity analysis of it, it shows that this data is valid to go for a further analysis. Then we examine our hypothesis in the SEM path analysis, and it shows that ubiquity and enjoyment and also price value has a positive effect on users' intention to retain their premium subscription. So it supports some of our hypotheses. Based from this result, it has provided an evidence that theory of dimensional value, or TCV, are the key factors in predicting users' intention to retain their premium subscription. This study also suggesting that businesses across the premium sector and also digital app services must consider TCV when deciding where to spend and developing their premium app services. However, the study result also reveals that satisfaction and social connectivity has a negative impact on users' intention to retain their premium subscription. This may be attributed to Indonesia government regulation that has loosened up their COVID-19 pandemic prevention, since Indonesia COVID-19 are getting more and more better now. So many people, including Discord users, has shifted their activity from digital to physical. Because of this, it affects a lot of premium users to perceive the value of the premium version more differently.
So after explaining about the literature and method and result, now let's move on to the conclusion. Next. According to research by Manti Magi stated that the willingness of users to retain their premium subscription can be highly context-specific and situation-specific. The study has provided evidence that the shifting behavior of a user in a specific situation can affect their attitude and perception toward the premium app services. Based on this result, where some of our hypotheses are not supported, we imply for the research and literature in a freemium context to consider more value dimension that is more not context specific and situation specific. For the research also need to analyze what happens to the freemium businesses after the post-pandemic era. As the freemium business across the world have grown up, we also need to consider the shifting impact that can disturb the freemium business. So this is the end of our presentation. Thanks for listening.
All right. Thank you very much. Before you leave this PowerPoint, because that day I didn't want to ask you so many questions, but do you run these statistics by yourself? Do you understand the concept behind the statistics?
Yes, Prof. But the
Where?
data is error. Not the data
Oh,
is too messy to run the statistic SEM. So we only show you not the full full result of it,
but you say
because
that
when we
you
try
you deleted the outliers. So what are the outliers? How did you find out the outliers?
the outliers means like the skewness and kurtosis, the data that is too skewed and too
Uh-huh.
kurtoted, and then the data that has missing values, blank data,
But how can you
and
have
then
missing value if you did the online survey?
the date. Yeah, sometimes like there is a data that doesn't feel
Because you
that
didn't
doesn't.
set it up that as a required. Because when you set up your online, I'm just telling
Mm.
you, in the for the future or for the other classmates,
Oh, okay.
for the other classmates' benefit. When you set up the online survey, there is a function that it says required. So the people don't answer that, they cannot go to the next question, or they cannot
Oh,
submit. So that's
oh,
one thing easily you could take care of. But that people did not answer carefully is a
mm.
common problem, and people
Yeah,
just answer 1111 or 2222,
Yeah.
something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, and so that you can screen, and yet you can take away that data. So wondering that where did you have the knowledge of the statistics? Did you study this statistic classes in your undergraduate?
Oh, no, I have an experience in MOST program.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I joined that research for one
Oh, okay.
semester.
With Professor Yen.
Yeah, with Professor Ian.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, now I understand. And so,
Mm.
yeah, I think for your undergraduate, this is a pretty good research and a strong statistical analysis. But not that the data is good or not. That's
Mm.
a different story. It's always could be a problem. So if any of you plan to go to graduate school, I think you could work around this data, maybe consult with some of the seniors, PhD students and so on, like Jovi or even Hanif. I think you know them, right?
Yeah, I know them.
Yeah, they could help you debug, if there is a way to debug your data. And then you three can think of, with your professor, can think of like publishing this. If you ever were planning to go for a master degree, having a publication is quite an advantage to your admission for getting a scholarship in the future. So, but you have done a pretty good job, and the presentation, that is my concern, is done very well. Even though this morning I think you are not that ready, but you picked it up very well, and you catch up, and then you work very well. And again, this is a notice for all the classmates. Working from 3 different locations, three people making a group presentation, it also need coordination and practice for that.
Yes.
If we had another semester of presentation, it would be about how to make group presentations, because it may seem easier because, well, we have a group and then we don't have to talk so much, but also it needs a different kind of a skill and different kind of practice. And so you guys did it very well, especially through the online. I'm pretty sure if you were in the classroom, your teachers would be even more impressed with your presentations, because you're all good presenters. Okay.
Thank you, Prof.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, Prof.
Now let me see what else. Anybody has any questions? Okay, so yeah, you can go ahead and leave the. How do I take the control back? I request for a control. Somebody should say, okay, who has the control?
I think it's the Kevin. Finn, please click the stop presenting in.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay.
All right, very good. So before I go to my next topic, I like to share with you guys. Let me find what we are going to do for next week. And I haven't sent out the instruction for the other presentation, but it would be very similar. So you guys should kind of prepare for it if you want to prepare in advance. So here is the video presentation 2, the instruction for the video presentation 2. I presented it last week. I will present it again one more time here to make sure that this is due on May 23, so next week, right? What? May 23? Yeah, May 23 is a Monday. Yes, so Monday night, this is due before midnight, Monday night, remember that. And this topic this time is something like you see today in the demo presentation. Either is a presentation of an idea or a product. Again, like I said, if any of you have to do any kind of a project that needs to be presented to, like in a display, because this is about the exhibition English, right? Suppose that a lot of companies, again, due to the COVID, this is less, but a lot of companies, sometimes they have exhibitions in Taipei or in Taichung or in Kaohsiung, and they are looking for presenters, students or people who can speak Chinese and who can speak English, and they are good in presenting their products. So they will ask you to go there, and they usually pay not bad. It's not the permanent job, but if you become good at this, you could be doing this at part-time and make a good money, because there is going to be exhibitions every now and then in different parts, and you become the person presenting products. You don't have to necessarily know the business. You have to just know that product and learn about it and then present it. So here is your chance to practice for such an opportunity. You're going to practice to pitch or introduce an idea, a product, right? A research that you just see this morning is a research idea with the conclusion. So the product may be something that is available in the market now, or the idea is something that is already available. Like you want to talk about some philosophical ideas or some kind of a health ideas or something that is an idea, not how to become healthy, but just this is the concept, a concept, all right, not the practical part of it, but the conceptual part of it. So you introduce that. Say what? Okay, this the idea of living happily, for example. Okay, it's good to be living happily because of this, because of that, and so then you can say, well, these are some of the things you can do, but the idea is to have a happy life. So my concern is basically, now that we are here at this stage, is for you to create a product of your own. Maybe you have created a product of your own. Maybe some of the students, especially like I said in the school design, they have done a product. So you can just introduce that if you don't have any of your own products. Or you could have an entrepreneurial idea. You're thinking, okay, this is a product that can exist, right? This is because everything that you see around yourself, it was in somebody's imagination one day. Everything that you see around yourself, a toaster, a microwave, a computer, a fan, anything that you see, uh, it was in somebody's imagination one day, right? Just imagine even just this cup, right? This cup, it was in somebody's imagination because maybe there was a time people just drink out of their hand. But then somebody think, okay, what if I put this in a container, and then we can just hold it longer, and then we can maybe carry it from one place to another place. So you may have that kind of entrepreneurial idea. You may have some idea that, okay, this is something can be done. You can present that idea, right? And you can maybe have some of the designs by yourself, or make some pictures, combining some pictures to do that. It takes some more skills. Anything that you want to introduce to us. This is your time to really be creative and think out of the box. All right, but I am perfectly happy if you just bring a product that is innovative, sort of like, not like a calculator or a cell phone or, a water bottle. These are the products we already know. There is not much you can introduce about it that we don't already know. Unless there is a water bottle that does something, strange or something very innovative, like the water bottle can, eliminate the disease or something. I don't know. So introduce something new to us that is just come out, and maybe you are really interested. It could be, like I said, some very electronic or some very some gadgets, some electronic gadgets like VR or some other gadgets that I don't know, and maybe your classmates don't know, but you have interest, and you know that this kind of gadget exists, and it can do so much good, or it can be so much fun. It just doesn't have to be anything about serious. Fun is something serious. You can have products that are for fun. People make a lot of money just by entertaining other people. We spend a lot of money for entertainment, and so that would be the idea. And so this time you're given 4 to 7 minutes, so you're not pressured by time. All right. And make sure that if you use, and make sure you can use some videos in it. that goes with your presentation, but don't use the whole big portion of video at once. It's good to have portions, some short portions of video, and your classmates and you guys have done that, especially when you did a criticism of your own presentation. You use clips to show that, and so that would be also a good way to talk less and to get people attention, and also to make your presentation more effective. So you would submit it to this link that I have provided for you. And I think I have also provided the link in the Tron class. Here it says upload VP2 here. So if you click here, it will go there. All right, so that shouldn't be a problem. And then the other instructions that we have talked about in the past. Do you have any questions about the homework that is due next week? Today, I will also finish figuring out the following homework and the final. So you can finish things earlier for this class. After this second video, then you can finish your following videos and even the final and submit anytime you want. This class can finish for you by the end of this month if you want. And so you will be free because your final would be your choice of the best video or a new presentation. That would be something to consider later. So any questions at this point from anyone? So Rico, are you with us? I see you're here.
Yes, I'm here.
Ah, Rico. So where is your camera?
Oh,
Ah, thank you, Rico. Yes. And where are you now?
hello.
You are in campus?
In campus.
Okay. So then you also can bring your textbook today. After the class, you can bring it here and we check it. So
Okay.
you're done with that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So far, any questions on the next homework? All right. If no question, then let's take a break. And then after the break, I'm going to introduce maybe 20 minutes or so about the conclusion and summary and tell you what is the difference between conclusion and summary one more time, now that you have had enough practice. Now let me just lay it out for you. And then how to handle questions, which we will not practice, probably will not practice this semester, but at least I can tell you how to handle the questions, and so then we will be done. So let's take I don't know, 5-10 minutes. So let's come back at 10:15, and then I will continue with that presentation. All right, everyone, let me share my screen. And let's go to our lesson for today, which is about summary and conclusion. This is the chapter you already did the homework over it, and let me just go over the lesson first with you. So in the book also only talks about the conclusion, but I kind of mix the conclusion with the summary. I wanted to separate these two. So we have a clear idea, because you also in your presentations, you're required to do a summary and a conclusion. So today I'd like to just talk about two things. One about the effective conclusions and summaries. And the other one is handling questions. All right. So summary and conclusion. Let me share with you a chart that I actually just created this for this presentation. So it's in the Word format, and I will make this chart available later. Basically, what is the difference between the summary and conclusion? First, on the meaning. What meaning is the summary portraying? Summary is about just an outline of the key points in your presentation. As I mentioned before, is a mechanical thing. You come to the presentation, you greet the audience, you give them the introduction, you tell them who you are, and you tell them what you're going to tell them. And that's your outline. Summary is basically the same thing as your outline. Could be exactly the same, could be a little bit different, but in any case, it's just a mechanical thing that I just talk about these things to you. The conclusion, however, is your understanding of the whole situation. So just like you saw in today's presentation from your classmates, they have a presentation of the data, right? This is what we find, this is what we find. And they had a conclusion because some of the hypotheses did not work. And they have the conclusion of why this hypothesis might have not worked or why is it different. And so what should we do about it? So that's the conclusion. Conclusion is the final thoughts that you mentioned to in the purpose of your presentation. Is the final thoughts to the purpose of your presentation. So you came and you gave us a purpose. This is the purpose of my presentation. This is what I'm going to tell you. And we said there's two parts to that. Why? What you're going to tell us and why I should listen to you. Now, in the conclusion, you have a chance to bring them together, say, okay, this is what I told you, and this is what I think it means. So this is what I want you to do, this is what I want you to think, this is what I want you to buy, and so on and so forth. So the conclusion is your push, your personal push to make that connection with the audience and sell them what you are trying to sell them. Again, sell, I don't mean just selling a product, means selling an idea, means teaching them something or however things that you want to do. So the purpose of the summary is to just outline the important points, the vital points. The conclusion, the purpose of the conclusion is to help the audience see your point or judgment about the topic. Once again, it's more personal. So what does it do? What does it do? The summary, it just, like I said, is a mechanical way of repeating the main elements that are discussed in your presentation. But the conclusion is kind of synthesizes, combines, and makes sense of what you just presented. Now, how about the timing? This is not the exact timing, but it's an idea. So how much time you spend on the summary? Well, because you already gave an outline, because you already have talked about it, so the summary doesn't need to be too long, 5 to 15% of the time, of the total time that you have to make a presentation. And the conclusion also about 10% of the total presentation time. So if you make a model for yourself like this, let's say your introduction should be about 10 to 15% of the total time. Then you have 5% or 10% here, 10% here. So already you decided that about 35%, 30 to 35% of your presentation is in the introduction and conclusion. And then you can decide how much time you need for the whole body of your presentation. Okay, so you can organize your presentation timing based on this. And what does the conclusion present? What does it bring to the audience? It just main points clearly define and mention. But the conclusion talks about what are the implications, what does it mean, what is your recommendation, what should we do next, and what lesson we have learned. So bring again something more of your own thinking to this presentation. The summary does not include your ideas. It's just what you have presented. Of course, what you present is what you decided to present. It's your idea, but it's not your personal opinion. It's the facts that you have presented. But the conclusion is your own personal uh, ideas or reactions or criticism and so on. So these are the differences between summary and the conclusion. I will send this file and also put it on the Tron class. So when you're trying to talk about your conclusion and summary, you know what differences we are talking about. Any question about what's the difference between summary and conclusion? Okay, if not, then let me go back to the presentation. So we started the presentation, our presentation, with a big bang, with a good introduction, with the attention catcher, with enthusiasm, with a good outline, with a smile. All of those things is very important. This is just like a movie you are making. Like a movie becomes a good movie when all these little details are noticed. Plus, you have a good acting in it. You can have a very good acting, a very famous actress or actor in the movie. But if the small elements are not there, the script is not very good, or the connection between the scenes is not good, the editing is not good, or many other aspects of the movie is not there, that movie is not successful and people will not be watching it. Maybe they go watch it because they hear the famous actor or the famous actress is beautiful or something like that, but the movie itself would not go far. It's the same thing with your presentation. You are the actor and actress of the presentation. You can be a good actor or actress. You can be a good presenter, but the little details these are nothing to do with your English ability. So remember, at the beginning of the class and through this class, I have mentioned again and again, it is not about your English ability, is about what you can do with the English ability that you currently have. Just want to make sure that yes, I am. I just did a video lesson yesterday for another class, and then I noticed after that that my microphone was up, so the sound is not very clear. All right, so your little details will help. All right, and the conclusion is also one of the most important part of your presentation. The introduction is the first impression. The conclusion is the last impression. You leave the audience, and people usually remember the last thing they happen to them. And also it is not kind of it is not really good thing in the friendship, but you could be a good friend with someone and you could be doing a lot of good things, or in a relationship, and then that person only remembers the very last thing you do, and so they make a judgment about the whole relationship based on that. But in general, without noticing it, everyone, all of us, remember the last thing that has happened, naturally, because it's the newest. But if you have a good lasting impression, so you had a good presentation and you finish it good, then you have completed your presentation. You can have a good presentation, but you have not such a good ending to the presentation. It will leave the audience a little bit, with a not such a good taste in their mind, and they think that is not a good presentation, even though you really work hard and you did a very good job during your presentation. So keep in mind that the conclusion part and the last part of your presentation is also very important. So just a short notice on how to make a group presentation is that when you make a group presentation, in case you have to make a group presentation, always take the best person in your group, whatever it is best. I mean, if it's an English presentation, whoever's English is better. If it's about the concept, whoever knows the concept the best, whatever it is that you can say that person is the best to be the presenter among the 4 or 5 of you. So you make the first presenter the best and the second best presenter the last, or the same first person can finish the presentation too. So the best has to be in the first and the last. And then the middle part is, the rest of the presenters. So what do we have in the conclusion, or in the conclusion and summary? So in the conclusion, there is a summary. Again, in this book, conclusion and the summary are not separated as much as I think it should be. So we are going to discuss, when we say conclusion, it has the word summary into it. So in a conclusion, or before a conclusion, you will do a summary of your presentation, which I just showed you the difference. So you do the summary and then you do a conclusion, right? After you do the summary, then what you want to do in a conclusion is to give the audience some final thoughts, some closure. And you want this whole set of the summary and the conclusion be memorable, short, and to the point, just like the KISS rule that we mentioned at the beginning. The summary and the conclusion has to be KISS. All right. And then you will create an opportunity for the audience to ask you questions. So if you are giving a speech, just like again, today's presenters, when they presented their graduation project, then they will ask if the professors have any question. And so in any other presentation that is not for the class, usually there's time for Q&A. We also have practiced that in the past, but if we go back to the classroom, it would be easier to do a Q&A in person first. And so we will see about that. How to summarize, how to make a summary of your presentation. I repeat again, you can just repeat the points that you delivered in the order that you delivered them. All right. And same thing that you mentioned in your outline, you can mention in your conclusion, in your summary. You can change the wording. You can say a little bit something different, but in any case, it's the same thing as your outline. By repeating what you just have said. All right. And how to make it memorable, all right, is when you actually come down to that conclusion. So summary is the mechanical thing. Conclusion is more of yourself, is the last point. Even in your conclusion part, you could have one catch, one final video, one final quote, just like we in the introduction, we have the attention catcher or the hook. Actually, the conclusion can have an attention catcher or a hook as the last point. So that will make things memorable. So if it's the pictures you want to use, if it's some video clip, all right, if it's a quotation from someone, which if you remember in some of the presentations we did in the class, actually we have something like that. Some of your classmates have a quotation as an ending, all right? Anyway, you could also paint a sort of a verbal picture of what's going to happen in the future, or what's the result of what you see happening. For example, supposing you are introducing a new product, and you can give the audience an imagination that if they used your product, how the future would look like, or how their life would be enhanced, or how their life would be better. All right. Now, question time is a good opportunity for you to clarify something that people did not know. So it gives your audience a chance to ask you questions, and you have a good presentation, people understood it, you can also expect good questions, which again, if you know the topic, you know very well what you're doing, you should be very comfortable answering them. This is the time that you can clarify your points. All right. However, it also, if it's in the second language, like in English, this is the part that your English becomes more important, because now this is more of a conversation. Remember, I mentioned to you at the beginning of the semester, a presentation is much easier than a conversation in a foreign language or in English, because everything is in your power. You can decide what to do, when to do, what to say, how to say. And practice for it beforehand. In the question time, it's a conversational English. That you have to understand the question, you have to express it correctly, you have to make the correct sentences, and so on. So it's a more difficult part, and a lot of speakers do not like this part, not because they are worried about the English, because they don't know the topic they are presenting. So if you are very clear about what you are presenting, you shouldn't have any problem with that. And you have already got the language that is required to make the presentation. You can use the same language to answer the questions. All right. So you can end the presentation with a memorable statement. Like I said, make a quotation, summarize the points, ask the audience to take an action, and again, give them a verbal picture. So the different types of conclusion is also in your book. It should be page 115. It's on your book in page 115. How you can finish the conclusion to be memorable. You summarize, just like I said, like an outline. You tell a story. You can also do the same thing as you did in the attention catcher. You can share a personal story. You can push the audience to do something, or you can start where you started. When you can finish where you started. Maybe you started with a rhetorical question. You can finish with that rhetorical question, and this time you give the answer, short and sweet. Or you can mix this method. So it could be different kind of conclusions. So let me see. We can watch this video.
Well, finally we're there. Step number 8, prepare the close. A good closing is essential to the success of your presentation. Actually, every closing should achieve 3 objectives. Let's review them for a moment. Objective number 1, a closing should provide a summary of the main ideas. Objective number 2, a closing should review the purpose of your entire presentation. Once again, don't assume that your audience members will remember what the purpose is. You need to tell them one more time. And objective number 3, an effective closing needs to appeal directly for audience action. Remember, that was one of our first ideas. Every presentation that you give should be persuasive and should appeal to the audience to commit to some form of action. Well, those are the 3 objectives. What about the key ingredients of a closing? Well, as with openers, there are key ingredients. Let's review them. One ingredient would be to make sure there's a bridging statement that announces the closing. I mean, just don't say goodbye. You need to announce that you're moving into the wrap-up. It could be to say simply, let me summarize this for you, or as we close, or as a wrap-up. So again, make sure you have a bridging statement. A second key ingredient of a closing is to make sure that you restate your key points. Again, it's always good to review so that your audience will remember what they are. A third ingredient of a closing is to make sure that you summarize your main message, once again, your purpose. A fourth ingredient is to give a benefit statement where appropriate. Again, how will your listeners benefit from this information? And a fifth key ingredient is to include, if it's appropriate, a brief and memorable statement.
So again, as you can see, we are doing the same exact thing that we did in the introduction. So like I said, we start with the big bang. We start with the exciting presentation, with the exciting introduction, enthusiastic, to the point, very clear outline. We will finish the presentation with the same big bang. You know, it has to finish with the final thoughts, with the key points, and with letting people wonder about what you just said. Let them think a little bit. I don't say a long time, but at least 2 or 3 minutes after your presentation, they're still involved with that thought. So you can also recall some of the movies that you maybe like. It is still maybe in your mind. It's because they triggered some kind of a question in your mind that you didn't quite get the answer yet, or you don't know what was the conclusion, or you don't know how it might have happened if it was the other way. So this is the kind of presentation you also want to have, to give the audience, of course not going to be like a movie, but give the audience at least, like I said, 2, 3, 4 minutes, 2, 3 minutes to still remember what you said, or to think about what you said, and to wonder about it, to have a question in their mind.
Oh, just don't end with a poem unless it's appropriate, or with a statistic. But again, is there some way of ending on an attention-getting statement of some sort? We talked about the objectives of closings, and we talked about the key ingredients. Now let's explore the types of closings that are available to you. And as we do so, I'll go back to my customer service presentation and give you some examples of how I might choose to close. One type of closing is a return to your opening theme. Remember what I said at the beginning? Satisfied customers are the essential ingredient to the success of our organization. So again, I could return to my opening theme. A second type of closing is a future challenge. I might choose to say, if we really want to stay in business, if we really want to stay employed, we've got to keep in mind the importance of providing exceptional customer service. This is everyone's responsibility in our organization. A third type of closing would be a call for action. I might simply say, I'm appealing to all of you. Let me just put it right on the table. I'm appealing to all of you to become more committed to doing the best you can in giving service to our customers. Still, a fourth type of closing might be to reference whatever follows your presentation. Maybe someone will be speaking after you, and if so, make a comment about that. I might perhaps say, well, now that you've heard from me, now let's turn our attention to the president of our organization. Let's hear comments on what his views are about providing quality customer service. Still, one other type of closing, think about all those different types of openings. You can use them in your closings as well. You can end with a quotation. You can end with a declarative statement. You can end with perhaps a rhetorical question, an anecdote, or a scenario. So as you can see, lots of choices available to you on how to appropriately close your presentation.
All right. So we can see that if you have a very good introduction, you practice your introduction, then now you can see why we spend so much time in a good introduction. I emphasize so much because that same content and the same format you can also apply to your conclusion. And then it comes the question time. And when it comes to the question time, if you have told your audience that there will be a Q&A at the beginning of your presentation, say, well, when you give your audience some kind of a guideline. Either you tell them you can interrupt me anytime you want to ask your questions, or you can tell them that I will give time at the end of my presentation for Q&A. I suggest you go with the second choice and just finish your presentation and then leave a time for Q&A, especially if you are limited by time, because if people ask you a question in the middle of your presentation, it may take longer and longer, and then your time limit is going to be over. And plus, It may confuse the audience when they ask the question in the middle of your presentation. Maybe you will answer that question later. So you should let the audience listen and then ask questions whenever you are finished. Unless you have done this presentation several times, you're pretty confident that you can answer any kind of question about it, then you let the audience interrupt you, right? In any case, if you told the audience that there is a Q&A, make sure that at the end of the presentation, you arrange your time that there is a Q&A time. Otherwise, you will make your audience feel like you try to escape because, like I said, many people don't like that Q&A, and audience also is aware of that. So make sure that you leave enough time for the Q&A at the end of the presentation. And once you have done the summary and the conclusion, then you can pause and give the audience a chance to ask question. And you know that people don't suddenly ask question, especially in a more Oriental culture. If your audience are Westerners, it's easier to get questions from them because they will jump and say something. But if the audience is Taiwanese, Indonesian, Japanese, and from this part of the world, just like students you are, these are students that you will be audience in the future. So when I ask students, do you have any question? Nobody will say anything. People don't want to speak up and ask questions because of many reasons. But you need to give time to them to ask, or you could, if you didn't see any reflection or any kind of a response, you could talk a little bit more about something, and then this way maybe the audience feel more relaxed to ask a question. But anyway, you give the time. If the audience have a question, they ask. If they don't have a question, you don't need to force them, right? So for the question time, you need to predict, prepare, clarify, but never try to fool your audience. So predict, prepare, and clarify. So predict before the presentation what questions may be coming up, as much as you can predict. And then the more experience you have talking about that topic, the more you can do prediction. Then you prepare for it. Okay, so if they're gonna ask this, I should have prepared some documents if you think they may ask, a research you have done, or any variety of things that may be coming up. Have your material ready. And then you clarify, but do not try to fool the audience with the answer, because the audience will know that you don't know. If you don't know the answer, you just tell them you don't know. All right. The book makes some kind of a summary of types of questions that we can have. It could be like a summary question. People want to just summarize what you have said to make sure they understood you. So they would say, for example, so in your presentation, you said this, this, and this. Am I correct? And that answer could be short, yes and no, or your little explanation. There could be a very straight question. Say, okay, what did you mean by this? Or what did you get this? All right. Now there could be, I don't think it happens that often, but if you go to several presentations, you could have people who want to kind of capture your presentation time and make it about me and mine. So they will say, okay, this is what you said, but I have done the research on this and this, and then it becomes their presentation in the middle of your Q&A. So this is a little bit a hostile act. You have to know how to deal with it. There could be some irrelevant questions. People didn't listen, or people didn't understand, or anything, and that could irrelevant question can happen even from from your professors, because they didn't read your paper or didn't listen carefully. All right, the power question is the same thing. Just the audience is trying to get the power of your good presentation to themselves. It could be a cause and effect question and difficult question. So how to handle difficult questions. The other ones you can read in the book, what they are and how to do. But the most important one to us is a difficult question. The difficult question is the one that actually you don't know the answer to it. So it's a good question and it's a valid question. It's not any of those intentions I mentioned, but you don't know how to answer it. So don't just tell the audience, I don't know. All right. You need to say, I don't know, but give it a little bit of a nice decoration. So you can say something like this: I don't quite know the answer to your question, but I will be happy to find out and get back to you. All right. So you leave an outlet for that. I will get back to you, and then make sure that you will get that audience email or something, and you will get back to them. Again, you're just not making a presentation once and then you don't appear. You just want to become a good presenter. So people should know that there is some credibility in your speaking. Or you could say something like, oh, that's a very good question. I need to think about that for a while. So could you come back? Could we come back to it later, or maybe after the meeting? Let's go to the next question now. So you kind of politely say, I don't really know the answer to that, but maybe we can try it later, or we can discuss about it after my presentation. Another ways, again, these are all also available in your book, says, okay, I'm not sure if I know the answer to that one. Can we talk about it after my presentation? All right. And that's a good question. Let's see if anyone else from the audience can help me answering it. Now, this means you throw the question back to the audience. This has two advantages. This has advantage and disadvantage. Again, you have to be careful with this one. You throw the question back to the audience, then you open the discussion time, and you don't know how long this is going to drag, or somebody who wants to answer this question maybe hijack your presentation time, and they keep talking, and it's difficult to stop them because you told them they can talk. But the advantage is that actually, if there's a well knowledgeable audience, they could actually answer it. They could create a very good discussion and could get some positive answers out of it. So this is your skill of finding out how good is your audience, and you can know your audience ahead of time. All right. So never try to fool the audience. Be honest and straightforward, and don't forget the KISS rule. All right. These are the main things when you come to the conclusion. All right. So that's the end of this part about how to make a conclusion. And let me see if you have any questions about that. So with this chapter, with finishing this chapter of the book, we are done with the textbook. And like I said today, whoever can come after class, please prepare the book for the parts that is already been stamped. And how to prepare it again is to just fold the pages so the stamp is outside. So if I have stamped the page, just fold it outway and then bring it here. And I will check the ones that I did not stamp. So remember, when you come here, let me know from which parts I haven't checked yet. And we will be done with the textbook. And just more to the practice. Today also we watched a presentation from Kevin, and Michael in how to present an idea. They did a research. This is a graduation project, and they presented it very well from 3 different locations online. And we kind of get an idea how that is done. We already went through the roll call, and if you have checked in the Tron class, also remember to go to the Tron class and do the feedback quiz. All right, for today, just go ahead and do the feedback quiz so that we make the school happy. All right. Any questions? Okay. If no questions, then thank you for joining the class. I'm here in the office, and the office is room M662. If you haven't been to my office yet, it's in the 6th floor of the same building that we used to have class, or we're having. M662. Let me see if you find it, because it's a little bit tricky to find it if you haven't been here yet. See those of you who have their books, who are in the campus and can come to the office. Please come, bring your book. Those of you who can't, we will figure out what to do, and or maybe the school opens and just bring it to the class once the school is open. If no further question, no question. Okay, this is the end of our class today. Thanks for joining. Don't forget your homework, which is the video presentation for next week. Have a good week. Bye bye.
Thank you, teacher. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye, teacher.
Thanks,